Hey, today I'm talking about three movies that are all about different kinds of love. And the names of those three movies are The Decoy Bride, Paris Je t'aime, and Silent Night. First up is The Decoy Bride. This is a 2012 British movie starring Kelly MacDonald, David Tennant, and Alice Eve. So looking at this poster, I was like, this looks dumb. And then looking at the reviews of this movie, it appeared that I was correct. This isn't supposed to be a good movie. But I'm like, I like Alice Eve a lot, and David Tennant's great, so let's give this a try. And I was very pleasantly surprised by this movie. So the basic premise is, it's a rom-com, so you kind of know most of the beats going into it. Focuses on Kelly, who went off to the big city to be a big-time writer, but then failed, both career-wise and in her love life, and has since now moved back home. And then, while home, Alice Eve is this big-time celebrity who is having difficulties getting married to her fiance, David Tennant, so they decide to go to a remote island, which is where Kelly lives, to have their wedding in secret, but then shenanigans happen and it's a whole kerfuffle. It's clear immediately that David Tennant is going to end up with Kelly MacDonald. But you can't really judge rom-coms on their plot. It more comes down to the chemistry. Does the chemistry work? Do you believe the two love interests could like each other? Do they have fun together? Is there charm and charisma there? And the answer there is yes, there is a ton of charm and charisma from all of the characters. David Tennant started off really awful, and for like a split second, I thought that he was gonna be like the one who got his comeuppance, and that it was actually gonna be Kelly and Alice who ended up together. And I'm like, this is a really progressive rom-com. It wasn't that, unfortunately. Regardless, this movie was such a delight. I am so happy that I gave this movie a shot because I really did enjoy it. I wouldn't blanket recommend it just because it is cliched riddled. I would just say, like, if you're a fan of rom-coms, this is definitely worth a check out. If you like any of the three actors, I think it's still worth it. You just have to set your expectations in check because, again, you're not gonna get your mind blown away, but like, it's a cute, fun movie. It knows what it wants to be and it nails it nails it. Next up is Paris Je t'aime. This is a 2006 French movie, and the basic premise is it is an anthology film about the different sections of Paris. So it's essentially, I think, 18 short films back to back to back to back. And man, this movie was an endurance test. Just cause like every 10 minutes you're resetting yourself. So like you have to like get accustomed to like a very different style, telling a very different story with very different rules. It was a difficult film to get through. That being said, I still enjoyed this film a lot because individually, most of the short films were incredible. I loved so many of them. And yeah, I just want to briefly mention like some of my standout ones. I was really surprised by the Wes Craven one, especially because that was preceded by the horror film with Elijah Wood. Because I was like, oh, we're going to get two horror films right in a row? No, his was surprisingly adorable. And then speaking of Elijah Wood, his one was great. It was a vampire one. It was really ridiculous. But then my like absolute favorite one was the one with Steve Buscemi, and it was directed by the Coen brothers. It was almost a silent film because Steve Buscemi doesn't say anything the entire time, and it's just so ridiculous and so over the top, but like it works so well. It was it's great. So I definitely would actually recommend this movie, but I would recommend it in chunks. I don't recommend just watching the entire thing all the way through. I recommend taking breaks. I really think they should have like cut out 2 or 3 of the short stories just because like had this thing been like half an hour shorter, I think it'd be super easy to like just watch it like a regular movie. But because it's, you know, so different, that makes it so hard to get through, which is a shame because it's actually really solid. So yeah, it's worth a watch. Just pause it every now and again and do something else for a bit to collect your sanity because it's worth it. And lastly is Silent Night. This is a movie that came out last year that I was very, very excited about. It's a British movie. The trailers made it seem like it was a dark comedy about the end of the world, but everyone's still celebrating Christmas because, you know, it's Christmas. So I was really hyped for it. And like the dark comedy stuff started off real strong and real good. And I was enjoying this movie for most of the first act, but then suddenly it switched into kind of just a straight up drama about the apocalypse. The movie just felt like it came to a dead stop when that happened. But then the next scene, they switched back to dark comedy. And I'm like, good, I'm really happy you're doing this. But then the scene after that, they switched back to actual drama about the apocalypse. And I'm like, no, this is boring. I don't care about this. Stop. And then most of the rest of the movie is just a regular drama about the apocalypse. So that was really frustrating. This movie was being made prior to COVID, but like it has kind of too many similarities to COVID because it's like an airborne thing that you just breathe in and that'll kill you. But then what kind of makes this movie not the best is one of the main characters, one of the kids, is constantly questioning whether the scientists got everything right and that if we're doing the right thing by listening to them. And technically the end of the movie is open for interpretation. But unfortunately, one of the interpretations, especially the one that I think is the most easy to jump to, is that the film is kind of anti-vaccine, anti-government. And that's really frustrating. So yeah, I really did not care for this movie, which is really unfortunate. I didn't hate the movie though. I didn't end up putting it in the didn't like. It was in the meh category just because the dark humor stuff was really solid. Just sort of focused more on that and it would have been a lot better. So yeah, I don't recommend it, though I will add that my brother Justin also watched this movie and he enjoyed it a good fair amount, so. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got The Decoy Bride, sitting at number 6 in the quite like section. And then literally right behind that is Paris Je t'aime, sitting at number 7, also in the quite like section. And then bringing up the rear is Silent Night, sitting at number 13 in the meh section. And that is out of a total of 15 old movies so far this year.